Well, it's a good evening here. 23 degrees here in Brisbane, but it feels like bloody 6. Anyway, it's a good evening from the studios of Radio FM 88 here in Brisbane. Our co-host is sitting right there at the top of the totem pole, and our UK guest is actually on holidays in Crete, of all places. Fantastic place, nice, tropical, sunny. Um, Envious, mate. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand it straight over to Pauline. It'll be an interesting show. It's how funny how the theme starts over a period of weeks, and it's just seems to magnetize towards it. So we're dealing with animals. Lovely. Thank you very much.
And good morning from the southern hemisphere, from us here in the northern hemisphere, in a gorgeous, luxurious 23 degrees. That's absolutely marvelous. Got my summer clothes on, not 6 degrees at all. Here we are, bring it up. It's amazing what a number can do to a person. So I want to introduce you to Paul Quinn. I think we're in for a fascinating exploratory conversation about life with the animals and people's mental health. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Pauline. How are you?
Very good, very
Morning,
good.
Jeff.
All the better for seeing you, my dear, said the wolf.
Well, I'm enjoying a nice 31-degree temperature here in Crete, just outside Heraklion. So
beautiful. So many, many years ago, once we were born, Paul, way back in whenever, life for you began in Ireland, didn't it?
I was born in the UK and moved to Ireland when I was about 2 years old, I think. I was first generation English born, which puts me in the category of being a plastic paddy.
Such a plastic paddy, good one.
Well, and grew up in Ireland and grew up in a farming community. I was there till I was about 9, 10, then moved back to the UK.
All right.
And life growing up within the farming community and moving back to London in the city where you weren't allowed out. Things changed immensely. I could disappear for the day. Going through the woods, forests, and playing around on the farm with sheep and horses, and just disappear, hang out with my mates, and then all of a sudden I'm moving to London where I'm not allowed out because there's so many strange people. There's cars that are going to knock you over. There's so many. You're going to get kidnapped. You're going to get all sorts of. Basically,
it's a horrendous life.
It is.
The spookies and gargoyles and everything. Okay, so
a 9-year-old.
Whereabouts in Ireland?
The West Coast. Grew up Galway. Yeah. Beautiful place.
So did you have access to the beaches as well? So you could, aside from the disappearing into the forests and
no, not really. No, it was all Connemara Hills and woodlands and
Connemara Hills.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So you got infused with the plastic parrot, the plastic paddy way of looking at things.
Yeah, simple. Look at life simply. Do things simple. And when we moved back to London, it was I was a bit of a chubby lad, and kids that sort of age aren't the kindest, and just became a target for bullying and being kind of picked on. And I don't know, I had a dog, and she was my best friend and the thing I could talk to and connect with, and just kind of be my mental sounding board, if you like. And I suppose that's where the love of working with animals came from. So just wanted to develop that a bit more. Thought about becoming a vet, but I wasn't academically minded enough for that. So I did a work experience at Crystal Palace Zoo for 2 weeks, and yeah, just fell in love with being a zookeeper, working with a variety of different species of animals, being able to make those contacts, you know, just. And when you have a male squirrel monkey come and kind of like pee on its hand and rub it into your hair, kind of like marking you as its territory, there's just something about that connection you just cannot beat.
I bet. Honestly.
But yeah, it's that's where working with animals started from. And just, I think now with a more mature mind, I can look back on it and kind of see that was actually a good time in my life working with animals. The whole kind of connection. You don't have to, when you're young and you're growing up, you have to try and fit in with the kids. You have to you know, try and have the right clothes or the right, you know, right attitude, or listen to the right music, support the right football team, or whatever, just to fit in. And I suppose with animals, you don't have to do that. Animals don't care about those sorts of things, and you can be yourself, and they accept you for that. They have their basic needs. They're kind of like food, water, shelter, being able to behave naturally, and that's it. They're happy. If you respect that, they respect you for it. And that's when you kind of, in hindsight, you kind of project that thought to when you were a child, and kind of like, yeah, actually that happened when I was younger. That's Sue, my dog. She was the one who kind of like helped me cope with the bullying, and you know, she was there for me, and kind of that's how it all kind of developed. And I see it today when working with the students. You kind of see students with various different issues and gradients of issues, and I don't know, there's just that simplicity of animals that helps, I suppose, ground young people these days, or people, anyone with difficulties with coping with mental health issues. I mean, if you think about it, when we all was going through lockdown and COVID, we were told, get out to nature, make contact, get back to basics. And I'm sure that's got to be the same feeling for gardeners. You kind of like, you're out there doing basic things. You're just kind of working with your hands. You're just kind of being creative and being just not having over complex life.
Yeah. So simple is the best way. And I'm astonished that squirrels came up and marked you as their territory.
Squirrel monkeys.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. And where did that happen?
Oh, that was at Crystal Palace. But it also happened at
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, it also happened at Battersea Park Zoo as well, where I moved to, and I was there for about 9 years, and then kind of worked a variety of species, from otters, meerkats, mongoose, various different species of birds, parakeets. Kea parrots were one of my favorites, penguins.
Wow.
And the exotics room, the reptile house there, I became manager.
And did you muster different conversations with the different species? Is there a different way in which you kind of connected with them?
I think the connection is basic. There's no, it's like when you're talking to a baby. A baby doesn't understand what you're saying to it. It's just your mannerism, your tone of voice, how you carry yourself. And I think animals learn to, their basic survival instinct is to learn the situations around them, to read the situations around them, read the environment. And as a human, that used to be our basic need. Read the environment. If we didn't read the environment, then we'd have a saber-toothed tiger chewing on our neck. So
saber-toothed tigers get around, don't they?
They do. But it's all back to those primordial experiences, those things that are ingrained in our minds genetically or I don't know, psychologically, from when we were, you know, evolving from apes to man.
Right. Okay. Whew. So
I've got visions
here we
there.
are. We've gone.
I've got visions of Conor Loma going down Manchester United at Old Trafford, mowing down that English winger.
Yeah, well, the lions roar, and I heard the other day that there's not 3 lions on the England badge. It's 3 jaguars, but what do I know? So I'm rather hoping that Paul, tell us your love of animals. There was a beautiful connection. You talked about Sue, your dog, and do you still have conversations with other animals in a similar kind of way that you used to as a young man or young boy growing up?
No, I suppose now it's more, I have people in my life I can have those conversations with. Don't get me wrong, I do have conversations with anybody who works with animals will lie to you if they tell you they don't have a conversation with their animals. It's just, you do. You kind of like checking in the morning with them, how they're going. You're asking them how they're feeling. 9 times out of 10, they don't tell you how they're feeling. But you learn to read them. A lot of talking to animals is for our own benefit. Animals' ability to grasp or understand language is probably limited to their own species, and that's basic communications. You know, the certain tone of a grumble from a lion can indicate some sort of action or feeling or what's going on around them, completely opposite to a different, you know, to different tones. So the actual talking, physical communication, talking verbally on our part is for our benefits, but it helps us make that connection with our animals. Okay. And what we get back from that is, animals understand that there is communication out there, and they probably understand that we are trying to communicate with them badly or whatever. It makes no difference. But as long as we respect them and they respect us, I think that's where the basic communication comes into it. Okay. It's that understanding of reading them reading us, they're reading our tones. It's like when I'm talking to the students and I try and emphasize how important our voice is, our tone of voice, you kind of get them to think about sheep farmers and how they communicate to sheepdogs. They use whistles. They have to project their voice to be heard across, you know, half an acre of field, going down valleys or hills or anything like that, and that sound gets distorted. So if a shepherd's screaming and shouting at his dog to go left or right, the dog's going to go, yeah, to hell with you. I'm not listening to you. You're shouting at me. I'm scared. I'm gonna keep away from you. But if he uses whistles carry less anger, it projects less aggression in its tone. And that's what
I'd have thought a whistle was a fairly neutral, but a fairly consistent, if you like, frequency. So yes, it is. Whatever comes, so that it's almost like it's a signal. Yes. To and
the same is said for animals. If you're talking to an animal in, you know, English or whatever language you're speaking, you're talking to your cat, dog, your snake, your, you know, whatever. It's your tone, your mannerism. It's how you carry yourself when you're engaging in that communication. And that's what animals read. They read that. Yeah. They understand that because it is basic communication. Sign language, basic communication. You know, it's a form of basic communication. It's using your hands to communicate.
So going back to basics then, when it comes to communicating, yes, and putting yourself in a position where you want to make connection with the animal,
Yes.
rather than ordering it around or telling it what to do. Or I'm just making an assumption. I'm just trying to, if I were a brand new student with you and you were trying to tell me, okay, you're going to have to respect the animals, and I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, what would be the ABC of respecting an animal?
Well, learn to know the animal, learn its behavior, learn the warning signs when it's being stressed or when it's being up or when it's upset with you. Learn what is within the animal's parameters of behavior, and if you work within those its natural behavioral parameters, you're able to get it to do things. We target train, for example, we have a couple of pigs that we target train to get on scales, because it's important for us to know what their weight is, make sure they're getting the right amount of food, make sure there's nothing, weight loss can be a sign of a problem, an illness. So we need to monitor that. But we don't need to kind of like force them into a crush and kind of like get them onto a scale. We use positive reinforcement to get them on. So we get them used to a target, and we kind of lead them to the target, and they walk up to the scale by choice, and they get rewards for it. In order for that to happen, we have to learn how their behavior is, and if they're upset or having a bad day and they don't want to cooperate, then we don't force it. We can get that weight another day, and when it's a bit more happier. So it's important to learn to read the animals and understand that.
Right. So a lot of time observing them and watching little tweaks and nods of the heads, or
shakes,
bowing themselves, all those sort of
grunts,
nuances.
noises. Depending on the species. I mean, some would say it's difficult with reptiles, but let's say, for example, a snake. A snake will, if you're stressing a snake out and it doesn't want to be handled, it will hiss at you first. It will coil itself up before it kind of, you learn to read kind of nuances, body language. And through that, you make a connection with the animal.
Yeah.
It's a form of
all the animals, you talked about a snake. It will hiss and it will curl itself up. Squirrels might do something different.
Squirrels have a chatter.
What have you learned about the different species and their different ways of connecting?
The different species have different behaviors. The species, the behavior of a squirrel cannot transpose over to the behavior of a snake. You have to learn about the species, individual species behavior, and in order to understand them.
Okay, so at Capel Manor, what variety of
It's Capel Manor.
Capel Manor, yes. Sorry, at Capel Manor, what's the variety of species of animals that we're looking at there?
So at my campus, we're the smallest campus within the 4 campuses of Capel that have animal management on the units. And we have pigs, goats, sheep, various different species of birds, various different species of lizards, snakes, amphibians, rodents, all to give students a broad aspect of different experiences of different species of animals, so they can learn the basics and take those basics out into the world and get a job and do work within their chosen profession.
All right, so if I was to approach a sheep, what would be the first thing in order for me to be able to say, hello sheep, how are you today? Or Something along those lines. What? There must be a difference between saying hello to a sheep than hello to a goat.
Well, Sean the sheep, mate.
I'm staying away from the pig for the moment.
This is where learning how to read the animals is important.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
If you're in the middle, so we've got a couple of breeds of sheep at our campus. Jacob sheep, we've got Lincoln Longwools, and we've got a couple of lambs that we were hand rearing that are basically mules, crossbreed sheep. And because they've been handled and they're so used to people, they won't run away from you. And they'll come up, they'll engage with you. Normally with animals, it's, again, communication is basic, but basic needs of animals is food. So they normally associate people with food. So they'll come up to us because we've got food, and it's how we engage with them.
So the way to a sheep's heart is through its stomach. In the same way, the way to a man is through his stomach.
Yes, that's the same for any animal. It goes back to the basic welfare needs.
Mm.
I love it. So I think that's fantastic. So right, I've got a really good question that I've been hanging on to for a few days now, knowing that we were going to have this conversation. When my children were young, they used to love, and I used to love doing it with them, to go and feed the ducks and go out and get some bread and then go off and cut the bread up and throw it into the pond and feed the ducks. And that was when they were much younger. So we're talking 30 years ago. And what I've noticed in the close where I live now, if you want to go and feed the ducks, there's great big signs saying, don't feed the ducks, don't feed the ducks. So what would be, by way of a good way of connecting again with the ducks, what do they like to eat? Because I imagine the goats like something different to the pigs, like something different to the sheep and the lizards and the rodents. So you have to bring them something, a tasty morsel, if you're going to connect up with them. Let's stick with the ducks for the moment, if you can.
Stick with the ducks. Okay, so let me put this way. If somebody was bringing you a McDonald's, and their neighbor was to bring you a McDonald's as well, and their neighbor was to bring you a McDonald's as well, and in the course of a day you end up with about 40-50 McDonald's, how are you going to feel? Exactly.
Is that what bread is to the ducks?
Well, bread, it's not good for them. It's
okay.
So it causes problems because the starch, because most people feed them white bread. So it causes the white bread to, when it hits the water, swell up, expand. When they ingest it, it swells up and expands and kind of causes blockages, causes them, and there's no nutritional value to it. And it's easy food.
Fair enough.
So that's why there's signs up saying don't feed. It's because there's no control measure in there for them to feed, and people will feed whatever they think the animals will like, and that's not necessarily what they should be being fed.
So what would ducks like then? If I
Grains,
throw away my loaves of bread, let's get something tasty. Let's bring them a cordon bleu duck meal.
Greens, fresh greens, spinach, radicchio lettuce, it just kale, seaweed, it just stuff that they would find naturally in the wild. Normally greens or grains. And again, it goes back to knowing the animals. You're not going to take a Happy Meal to meet a sheep, but you might take a handful of sheep nuts or a handful of hay, and that's where you make your connection. And a lot of people don't think about this when they're feeding some animals. They don't think about sometimes people project their own feelings and their own emotions and their own needs onto the animals they're engaging with. And that's not necessarily a good thing for the animal. We were talking about about us talking to the animals, and a lot of that is the animals don't understand what we're saying, but it's for our benefit. It's our way of engaging with them and feeling that we are making a connection. And by having that ability to make a connection with something else, we're able to share whatever might be troubling us. And I think that's where animals benefit humans in the way of dealing with mental health issues and dealing with our emotions and the stuff that we have to go through. They take things, they have a basic life. That's it. You kind of meet those basic needs of food, water, shelter, freedom from harm and injury or disease, kind of like the ability to allow them to be natural. And that's an animal sorted. They're happy.
Yes.
For us.
So in fact, if they just be if they just be themselves, they allow you to just be yourself and not become overcomplicated with anything, really.
I mean, an animal doesn't care how it looks in a photograph. So when you get your mobile phone out there and you're going to do a selfie with the animal, it's not kind of like making sure that its ears are in the right position, or, you know, its hair straight, or, you know, it's not got a bit of grass sticking out of the side of its mouth. It's just, don't care. You take your photo. And I think that's where we need to learn how to behave.
When you do take a photo and you have a look at it, you can see their personalities come out. You watch their eyes; they're really quite mischievous. Hey,
I mean, there is curiosity in animals. Animals are they do have a curious nature. It's part of evolution. It's how evolution happens. It's curiosity develops and kind of grows and over the generations.
I remember it'd be about 10 years ago, the guy who hand reared a brown bear, and he unwraps a McDonald's burger, and he gives him the meat, and the bear just looked at it and smelled it and wouldn't eat it.
That's the bear sending a message.
Yeah. Don't eat that.
It's not good for you.
Go back to the drawing board and get yourself some trout and bring me along a decent trout, and I might sniff at it for you.
Yeah. But then to get that trout, you have to be out in nature. You have to bait your hook. You have to have the patience to catch it. You have to have your technique right. So it's basic living. Wow. Your mobile phone isn't going to catch you a fish.
Okay. No. And so when you're handling the lizards and the rodents, that's a different category of animals, I would have thought. Is there anything that you do with them that would be completely different to how you'd approach the sheep and the goat?
Oh, definitely. Different sizes for a start. You're not going to pick a 40-kilo sheep up and kind of like carry it under your arm or kind of like drape it over your shoulder. But a 500-gram, lizard will plop down your shoulder and kind of like securely, obviously, or just they'd move. Again, it's all about individualism. It's learning what each individual animal's capable of, how they behave, and just working within those parameters.
So if I was to, I'm not going to, but if I was to start coming to one of your courses, for instance, I'm assuming there's a whole new round of courses that will start up in September.
Yes, there is.
Academic year. And
so when we get a new intake of students,
thank you.
The students want to work with animals. They want to, for one reason or another, it's a passion, and it's a competitive it is a competitive market out there. So the college provides them an environment in which they can do this, and a safe environment in which they can do this, because it is very easy to make mistakes. And what you need people there to teach you, to show you, okay, that's a mistake. These are the consequences. You know, this can happen if you make that mistake. We won't let that happen again. You learn from your mistakes. It's a safe college. School is supposed to be a safe place to learn how to grow and develop as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And we specifically have I say specifically students with animals, but at Capel Manor, we cover all land-based skills. So that's horticulture, floristry, arboriculture, garden designs. We are an environmental college. So and the same goes for all of the other departments. We're providing students who want to get into the field a safe environment to learn those trades. Learning how to read the animals is a safe way, is in a safe environment for them to learn when not to handle an animal, or when it's safe to handle an animal, if you should handle this specific species of animal. And also there's a lot of, some of our students have fears. We've had students who have fear of snakes, fear of the tarantulas. We've got one student who has, she's been with us for a couple of years, and she's had a fear of birds when she started. I mean, really petrified. And over the past year, she's overcome that fear, and she's handled the barn owl, she's handled our chickens, our quails, and it's all through a process. And getting a student over a fear, it's like anything. When you get over a fear, or when you've achieved something, the euphoria you feel, the glee, the kind of the warm fuzzy feeling you have inside of achievement, that's a real positive for the human mind. You guys must have done it yourselves when you've, I don't know, when you passed your driving test, you know, you kind of felt a sense of freedom, a sense of achievement. You kind of, it made you feel good.
Yes. When I can sing the song, I did it.
Yeah. And again, that's done through providing a safe environment for our students to overcome those fears, rather than having the pressures of being in a work environment where they're kind of like, right, well, I don't know, veterinary nursing, we've got a parrot coming in, you've got somebody who's got a fear of birds, I can't handle the parrot. Well, what use are you if you can't handle the parrot? You know, you can't. We're a vets. We work with various different species of animals. You need to be able to handle various different species of animals. So it's getting over those fears. It's facing those fears, but in a safe environment on a gradual basis, and it also provides that reward, that sense of achievement, that kind of mental well-being, the kind of your mindful state of kind of being calm, being
So when the animals are happy, they project simple, basic happiness. They radiate it, and it can be
that's
contagious.
a way of looking at it. That's a way of looking at it. And it's stuff I've seen. Kind of, we've seen students who are prone. We've had students who. So there is a lot of classroom work involved with the courses we run, and sometimes they're being in a confined space in a classroom. other students, there's noise around, you're looking at a screen, you're having to kind of like watch what's got being on the projector. Well, how old school am I? On the projector. Interactive whiteboard system that we have now for.
Oh wow.
And you have all that, and we've had students who for one reason or another have gone into a fit or a seizure, or kind of like they've had a mental shutdown. And one thing we've noticed is when they're on those same students are on the practical unit working with the animals, we've never had, or touch wood to this stage, we've never had one of our students go into that breakdown. And I feel that I believe it's that connection of being with the animals. The animals kind of have that calm, relaxed, basic engagement around them that's not contaminated by the modern world.
So as the head animal keeper, you're keeping the animals in a nice, safe, warm, comfy environment, a nice little home. They're sheltered, they're taken care of, they're happy and contented. So they've got all their basic needs, as you say, met. We're not talking about Maslow's hierarchy here, but they're just being taken care of. You're the head keeper. You're keeping them in a nice way.
Yeah. So we're a college, and our animals are resources for the students to learn with.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once when I was starting out, and I had a work experience when I was very, very, very young at London Zoo, and the head of education took us around on a bit tour, and he said something to me which really stuck in my mind. He said that he sees animals in the animals in the zoo as ambassadors of their species. They are there to educate and teach us about their species, about their life, about the world they live in. And as ambassadors, they deserve the premium of care. And that's what I bring. That's one of the things that I kind of try and emphasize or try and get across to the students. And it is something that we do at the college. The animals, yes, they are resources for the students. They are teaching resources, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve the premium care, because they're teachers. The animals are teaching. We are learning from them. And they deserve the same amount of respect as the teachers that are teaching our students. And they are teaching the students about their species. So they are ambassadors of their species.
It's a beautiful, beautiful way.
It is.
Beautiful way.
This is what we need to look at, the animals we have. Animals, there are people who will object to animals being kept in captivity. And they have valid points and reasonings behind them.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we're in a world where there is not much of a natural environment for a lot of those animals to grow and develop. And there's not much of a safe environment for those animals to grow and develop. We've also kept animals in captivity for hundreds of years. If you think about the first ever zoological collection in the UK, it was the Tower of London, and it was Victoria's showing off some of the gifts she'd received from, kings and queens and ambassadors and from around the world, and through education and awareness and kind of growth and understanding of the animals, we've gone from keeping, a cheetah in an 8x6 metal bar cage into in a wildlife park where they have, as much space as they possibly can be provided for by that wildlife park. And we can't undo history. We need to learn, grow with history, and try and make the future better through what we learn through our history. That's the best we can do. And we do that for our animals. You know, we've learnt that in the UK, probably Jeff doesn't have this problem in Australia, but in the UK, we have to worry about how much UV lighting we have for our animals and even for ourselves. In Australia, you've got it pretty much on tap. So with reptiles, we need to think about, right, where they come from, the country of origin. So are they from a rainforest? Are they from open shrubland? How much exposure to natural sunlight would that animal naturally have? And we have to recreate that environment in our small enclosures. In comparison to what they would be in the natural world, they are small enclosures, and we can only do the best we can. So we provide those lighting. We need to think about the lighting. We need to think about how we provide the environment. And again, with the students, I get them to the enclosure that the animals are kept in.
Yeah.
With zoos, people go, the majority of people, 90% of people go to zoos for entertainment. And what we need them to come away with is a bit of education. We need to get people to think about how they have an impact on the world. And one of the ways we can do that is, yes, by seeing an animal face to face, you know, getting that engagement, but also create the environment that animal comes from. Now, with a reptile, it's hard to do because we have a small space, but we still try and do it. When I build our enclosures and get the students to help out, we kind of get them to research where the animal would naturally come from, get them to think about the plants that can go into that enclosure. I prefer bioactive enclosures, creating a living environment. So you create a living environment ecosystem for that animal to be in. And sometimes the public comes in, they'll see the enclosure, and it will be amazing. Plants will be growing, and there'll be noises, and people will be looking in the enclosure, trying to spot the animal, because the majority of animals like to hide. You know, it's in their nature. You know, if they're out exposed, then they're somebody's meal. So again, going back to the basic instincts of survival. So you make the initial connection with the enclosure. You get the enclosure to tell a story. This is where I'm from. This is my environment. This is how beautiful my environment is. This is how beautiful my home is. This is where I come from. And it will get Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who are planning to go to Habitat the next day and spend £4,000 on a barley wood dining table. Get them to think twice about that. What's gone into that barley wood dining table? Where has it come from? What's had to be done in order to get that table to you? Let's start off by thinking about how much of the forest had to be chopped down in order for you to get that massive dining table together. Let's think about how much is taken in by transportation of that table from A to B. You know, did it go by air? Did it go by sea? Did it go? What impact? And it's just about getting people to think, and that starts off.
Well, broaden their horizons and just open up. I mean, you've beautifully described the ambassadorial role that you see in the animals in their enclosures, and opening the perspective. It's not just the animal himself or herself, but where they live, where they come from. And this is me. I'm a reptile, and I come from wherever, and this is where I live. And it is showing people another aspect of the world that they wouldn't ordinarily be looking at, and seeing it through the eyes of the animal. I think it's a remarkable way of just seeing the world from a different perspective. And
when we went through COVID and we went through lockdown and we were told to get out for our, I don't know, what was it? We were allowed out for an hour walk a day.
Our daily exercise.
Yes, daily exercise. And even
In a bubble.
great Sir David Attenborough he was advocating getting out to nature, making that connection, watching the butterflies dance around. I mean, have you sat down and watched? I mean, looking out on my balcony, and I've got a couple of swallowtails that's, remind me of just dancing around, just kind of from plant to plant. And it's just kind of, there's something relaxing about it. And that's I think that's where animals help us. They ground us. They bring us back to reality. They bring us back to the basic of life. No worried about the internet connection. Although I have been worried about the internet connection here. It's
just to be sure that it'll happen today.
Yes.
But look at us connecting.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Hey,
so
I just thinking there of you're talking about the animals, and I was thinking, as ambassadors, I imagine those animals driving a BMW going through Brixton, and then and look at the human habitat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God knows what they must think of us.
Yeah.
Actually, I would like to point out that as ambassadors, they probably wouldn't be driving themselves around Brixton. They'd probably have a chauffeur and a police escort as well.
Yeah, true. Very good.
Very, very, very good.
I just want to talk to you about have you come across muscle testing, brain gym, educational kinesiology? Have you come across that, Paul?
No, I haven't. In what sort of context?
It's a form of teaching. So brain gym and educational kinesiology and muscle testing is all about the body is actually releasing its own endorphins or knowledge about the actual body. So when a teacher's out in front of a classroom, it can actually be talking like I'm talking to you now. So the person in the first couple of rows is probably more tactile towards listening. And there's other people who then need to lift their eyes up and they visualize. But we often find that the people who have to feel hands-on, the tradies and all that stuff, they drift to the back of the class because they're not actually in tune with how the teacher presents itself. Yeah. And so so when you talked about those students who went out and actually started to feel and touch, that's going into their sensory perception, and they're far better learning.
What you're talking about is kinesthetic learning.
Yes.
We're learning through doing. So it's one thing to read in a book the importance of clearing an animal's feces away, but it's completely different to actually cleaning the animal's feces away, learning techniques on how to do that, why you do that, why it's important to do that. So, as I said, when I kind of started getting into wanting to work with animals, I initially thought I wanted to be a vet. I wanted to help animals. First of all, I was not academically minded enough for that. That's not to say I'm stupid or I'm just, my brain is not wired that way. And doing the work experience at the zoo, I learned that my best way of learning was by doing. I would say that it's the same for a lot of hands-on physical work that anybody does. So from anyone from car mechanics,
plumbing,
farmers,
electricians,
working with the hands, using tools. There is something, it's a way of learning. And those environments, unfortunately, they do require, and I've seen this ourselves, is they require some way of quantifying a student's learning capabilities and the progression of those students' learning. So there has to be some academic stuff that's involved in that, and students do struggle with that. And I think it's such a shame that we've gone into the situation where we need to measure how a student learns, and we need to be able to record that data. And the only way that we seem to be doing that is through academic learning. At the college, we do have practical assessments carried out on the students and observations of what they're doing in relation to the work they're doing, and that goes part towards their qualification, their final grade, if you like. But there, as I said, there is a lot of academic stuff, and some students do struggle with that. Maths and English.
But is it counterbalanced, and the whole way in which they approach the animals, their observational skills, their practical skills, how they've completed practical assignments successfully, all of that is a much broader perspective, and looking at what they've learned, where they started, and what they've ended up with at the end of completing a course or an assignment. So it's not all about writing and being theoretical.
It's not, but we also need to bear in mind that people are different. We have so many variation. No, how best to describe? It's like when you have a baby and you kind of like, you get your milk powder and it says, oh, this is the recommended amount you need. You need to feed them every so many hours.
4 hours. Yeah,
with this amount of 250 mils of milk. Okay, that's great, but some babies require more, some babies require less, some babies require more frequent feeding. You need there needs to be adjustments. There needs to be that variability to accommodate the individual.
Of course.
And I don't think we've quite got that balance right. And I think that's something we across all of the education system that needs to be addressed. We put so much pressure on our young people to meet targets and standards, and not only within my industry, but across the board through education, A levels, GCSE, maths, English, biology, whatever the subject matter is. We need to be able to, yes, there is a need to quantify what a person learns. We need to measure that they are learning, because we do have the other downside of, we do have some students who just don't want to. They can't be bothered, or there could be a number of reasons. Maybe their way of learning is not, we're not catering to that way of learning correctly. We need that adaptability, but there's a standardization across the board for education, and it's got to be the same in all the countries across the world. It's Australia, you must have qualifications that you need to hit this criteria in order to get a pass. So you need to get this for a merit or a distinction, or to get your 9 or 7 or whatever it is gradient. It's across the world, so it's not just.
Well, we used to have a saying, what gets measured gets done. So once you impose a measurement on something, that's the target, rather than the much broader. Every single day we live and we breathe, we're learning something. We are curious by nature. We are growing as individuals. And so no matter what a person does, no matter what age they are, that will be their life experience that goes into their own DNA, goes into their own biological encyclopedia that we carry around with us. It's our life record. So I hear what you're saying about getting qualifications, because nobody ever fails at anything. I've managed to keep on breathing the whole of this morning, and I'm still doing it, and I'm managing to talk. So that I can give myself a gold star for breathing, for being alive. Thanks very much. That will do nicely. So these external pressures that you talk about, is that something that you've noticed over the years, and how you came up with the idea of how our mental health is exacerbated by those sorts of pressures and stresses that we don't necessarily need to have? And certainly as an animal, they're not looking for degrees or passes, distinctions, credits, anything like that. So perhaps that's something that you could elaborate on.
It's something that I have noticed over the past couple of years, but I think on reflection, it's something that I've noticed within myself when I was a young lad. When I was at school, I wasn't that interested in school. I didn't pay much attention in class. I struggled with the work. I struggled with understanding. I mean, it wasn't until a few years back that somebody actually kind of said, "You're dyslexic. You know, you need to." It's a bit late now to kind of put a label on something, but because you've put coping mechanisms in place in order to deal with your dyslexia, but that's where some of your struggle comes from. Also, how I learned it, I am a kinesthetic learner. I learn by doing. I learn by getting my hands mucky and learn what works and what doesn't work. And I've done that at work with building enclosures, from creating the environments, kind of like see what works and what doesn't work. And because I know the basics for those animals, and I have that capability of thinking, okay, is using this type of concrete is going to be bad because for the frogs, for example, because their skin is porous and they'll absorb toxins through the skin and it will do them damage. So we kind of like, no, we're not going to use that, but we can use this expanding foam and shape it and kind of like cover it and seal it. And we learn techniques.
Yeah.
You do that through, for me, it was to do that through physical doing.
Yes.
And when people talk about generations being able to learn, we've got our young people today who are able to send a text message that has probably 300 words in it, typed out in milliseconds, and then hit the send button. Whereas you've got somebody like me with, that's kind of like one finger going do 10 minutes later, I'm only on word 25, because I haven't grown up with that. There is a downside to that, I think. I think if we overwhelm our minds and our ability to catch, to evolve, if you like, to the situations we're in, we're not given any time for evolution. Technology keeps changing so much, so quickly, that you have to keep up with it. You have to keep changing with it. But do we actually grow with what we're learning? Does it actually? Somebody once said to me, when they were talking about me having dyslexia, was they gave me a sheet of a yellow screen to read through, and they were able to measure my ability to absorb and retain the information that I was reading. And they said to us that what has happened is, or this is their belief. I don't know if there is actual scientific evidence to support this, but what they believed was that in Victorian times, paper was considered, the color of the paper that was being naturally used was dirty.
Yes.
So they bleached the paper. So bleached paper became the norm, and they would write on that. But because through hundreds of years of reading parchments and discolored paper, our evolution was geared towards being able to read and absorb the information from those parchments, and then all of a sudden we've got this bleached paper in front of us that we've got words on that we're supposed to, our eyes and our mental evolution, our visual evolution hasn't caught up with that, so we struggle to absorb that information. And now we're able to kind of like counteract that by putting yellow screens, and we kind of like evolve. And it just makes you think, for the progression of technology that we're dealing with today, how do we evolve with at the same rate, or evolve to meet those needs of technology? And how does it affect us as mentally? And then you start thinking, well, what do we need to do? Well, we need to go back to basics. We need to learn from our history. We need to learn from, we can see our animals out in the woods or out in their hunting, they're doing everything basics. And we look at them and they kind of, do they look stressed out? They might look a bit hungry and they're a bit worried about when their next meal's coming from, but is that all they've got? That's all they've got to worry about. We've got to worry about paying the rent or paying the bills or keeping up with our, internet provider, or is that internet provider good enough for us? Checking our insurance company. We have all these things going on in our heads, and are we allowing ourselves evolutionary time to grow in order to deal with those things?
Well, it's kind of to return, a return to nature.
Yes.
And what you're talking about is, you talk about it being evolutionary. I'm not sure that it is, because there's been many a time when you look at the colour of paper and the impact of the colour of paper that has, from many years back, the paper has always been a sort of muddy, creamy colour from the origins. And now you're right, it's bleached white, and it has a reflective quality to it that the other paper, older paper, didn't have. So it has, I don't know if that's evolutionary or it's just being smart enough to not want to try everything all at once. And that somehow, because it's cheaper and easier to produce bright white paper, that the off-white and the cream has been thrown to the one side. I'm not convinced it's evolutionary.
If you think about
retrospectively,
and you think about how evolution has created environments for our animals to adapt to their environments, to adapt to hunting, trapdoor spiders, they'll lay in wait for the prey and wait for something to come by. Themselves a little environment. You've got I can't remember what type of fish it is, but you've got some fish that has evolved having a little ganglion at the end of its nose in order to entice little fish to come along to eat it, and all of a sudden that little fish is dinner. Is dinner, yeah. And you've got, so getting back to nature and looking at nature, looking at how nature's evolved and how species of animals have evolved over the over the millennia, just kind of in order to achieve their goals. So I do think that some of our abilities to cope with our current day environment, it can be attributed to evolution. And
I'm with you there on that. Yeah, because I actually do think intelligence is the capability and ability to adapt to all new kinds of environments. And I do consider that of all the species on the planet, we seem to inhabit the vast majority of it. There isn't anywhere that the humans haven't been, that they haven't been able to adapt to. Whereas, for instance, I'm almost certain a giraffe isn't gonna find a comfortable place in Norway or up in nearer the North Pole. And similarly,
an ambassador might be driving down, getting chauffeured down Brixton.
Is that Brixton High Street again, isn't it?
Hey,
It is a lovely high street.
I just want to change the subject somewhat because
Sorry, Jeff.
no, it's okay. On my morning walks, because you get to know all the dogs.
Yeah.
The dog walks. There's a lady called Tanya, and she's a grade 12, which is your high last year of school. And she told me that she had failed 5 of her students because they'd done their essay using AI. And I said, well, how AI? Oh, we've got a software program that tells us it's AI. So I work with Elon Musk's AI called Grok, and I put that question to Grok, and Grok came back and says, the universities that we know today will be gone, and they'll only be offering, to survive, they'll be offering 4 to 6 week courses. And it's purely because why would you want to spend $80, $120, $150,000 for a 4 or 5 year degree when you can ask any one of these AI programs and they get an answer within 10 seconds? And so I said, well, that's really interesting. So what industries is going to survive? It's going to be tradies, but all the other industries like marketing and promotion and advertising, financial planners, superannuation people, musicians, photographers, Gonski. So with you guys providing a practical, hands-on experience, a bit like Findhorn, where they threw themselves in growing those fantastic vegetables because they're working with the elementals. I think that's the way forward there for you, Paul. I think that's the only way you're going to survive, you know?
Yes, it is. And through that, we kind of, it's through, as I said earlier on, through education, we've created better environments for the animals that we keep. And through education, we are going to be able to protect what little of those environments we've got at the moment, and even possibly try and recreate some of those environments. If you look at, we've got, so in relevance to our competitors in Australia, the destruction of the coral reef out there. That's been eroded by human interaction, water pollution, but we're at the stage now where we're able to get certain species of coral to spawn in captivity, which was which has been something that has taken years and years to do. And in some cases, they've managed to get certain species of coral to spawn twice in 1 year. And that's all about learning about the environment in which they come from, learning about the environment which controls their breeding cycles. And that's factoring water quality, temperature, moon cycle. It's bringing all those elements together. And with our students, we can help shape the future, and we can help. Our students are going to be the ones that are going to hopefully protect and save and possibly reintroduce some of the species that we've ruined, undo some of the work that we've destroyed. And the way they do that is being able to connect, being able to understand, being able to read, being able to read the species that they're working for.
In Africa, there's 3 individuals that have come through on social media, have no academic qualifications as such, but they're legends in their own right. I mean, there's a guy at a safari park, and when he passed away, the herds of elephants all turned up and stayed at their house there for 3 days, and then they left. Then there's a guy who works with his bloody lions. He goes into those big open fields and they come running into him. He goes into the water. He just has an affinity with those lions. And then we've got the lady where the South African guy got this black leopard, and he wouldn't eat and it just stayed in this thing and wouldn't come out. And so they heard about the animal whisperer, and she came along, and this guy ended up crying because he couldn't believe that what she was telling him, and he had to go back and say, "Oh my God, they come from a circus." And then when the leopard didn't like the name, and this is his name, and so when she told him, "You're free to go, you're not going to be performing anymore," he came out, and this guy is a zookeeper. He just couldn't believe it. It's so, you know, there's phenomenal people out there with great gifts. It's just a matter of giving them the opportunity, like today, like you, Paul, coming out here to express that there's an opportunity for people in the heart of London to come and feel and experience what nature's got to offer. I think it's fantastic for your college to do that, mate.
Yeah, no, it's, and cities, I think, tend to be the hard done by. They've got so many people and so little landscape that, you know, we really do need to work on kind of getting back to nature, but allowing nature to come back into the heart of our environment.
So,
Now,
welcome
I was
nature.
worried about being able to talk about this subject for half an hour, but an hour and 10 minutes. I'm quite impressed. We've done really well on this subject.
Well, we haven't even talked
We haven't
about
finished.
Clarkson's farm. I mean, it's just a worldwide phenomenon to be able to get the farmers all around the world to introduce them what they're actually having to deal with for bureaucrats, particularly, and the rest of our civilization. He's done a remarkable job.
Yes, he has. I'm not a fan of Clarkson himself, but his what he's able to achieve, what he's able to highlight is, as you say, phenomenal. It is, as you say, it's across the world. What's happening in one part of the world, it's like the butterfly thing. It has a knock-on effect across the world, and across the world, everybody's feeling it.
Well, I'm sure you wouldn't want to work for West Oxfordshire Council anymore, would you? In fact, they got merged in the last elections there, isn't it? So
I'm not my son is, but I'm not very politically minded. I think we have a problem where this is one of those dates things, isn't it? Topics that you do not talk about on a first date is religion and politics. But needless to say,
when you have a look at this last episode, it comes in and it describes all the different birds that are in the habitat on his property, you know, and conflict between, do I go and harvest or get the harvest for the hay for the winter, or do I hang off for 2 weeks and I'll lose the nutrients and all that stuff? You know, what do you do? I mean, that was a real anguish position between. And then when she described all these different birds that he's got on his property, which is phenomenal. It's really eye-opener, and it's just unbelievable. And to find you step forward one pace, and then all of a sudden you got your hands tied behind your back by, you know, Whitehall bureaucracy.
Yeah. You know, I think, yeah, I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in the UK, we're talking about politics. Each party have good and bad points. It's the same across the world. Everybody has good and bad points, and we tend to have the arrogancy not to think ourselves to be right, and we don't look at, okay, so this is right and this works. They say that's right and that works, and it does. So let's merge what works and what's right, bring it together. And we don't seem to have a political system where that happens. And I think that's where people lose faith in politics. Politicians say what they need to say in order to get into power. And the unfortunate thing is, these people probably had the best intentions when they started out in life, like everything else. But because of the system that's in place, it just wears them down and grinds them into this pulp that just, they can't grow, they can't develop, they're conforming with their environment. And it's not necessarily the right environment. And I think this is where people struggle with politics, is we don't have a party that can look at itself self-criticize, reflect, change, and evolve, and be able to look at other things, other parties, and say, well, that actually works. That's a good idea. Let's utilize that, because they don't want to acknowledge that another party might have gotten an idea right. And it's the same with countries. There are good and bad points to countries, and good and bad systems in place, and it's corruption, arrogancy, it's ignorance. It's kind of like, yeah, we do what we do right. We're right. We know what we're talking about. They don't. It's just like, no. And
Right.
yeah.
So some years,
animals don't worry about that.
no, I appreciate that.
I don't see the dogs in London kind of like gathering together going, well, which party makes us pick up our poop after us? Which party brings in the heftiest fine? It's back to basics.
Yeah. See, 5 years ago, I did a road trip down to New South Wales. I ended up going to Bega Cooperative, which is a dairy farm. A dairy, I'd get the milk. And in there, I met the chairman of the board. And they said, we're still a cooperative. And the framework of the cooperative is that we have 5 farmers and 3 specialist directors. In no way will we be taking our role as a farmer off the board, because we're the ones who are actually bringing the milk to the factory. These 3 other specialists are to do with actually the branding and the marketing. And whereas the other cooperatives have all been sold out and been induced by financial planners and say, look, we'll get you more money if you sell your shares and turn it into a corporation. And of course, everything falls in a heap, and nothing like what's going on with Bega as a cooperative. And that's really what you're trying to achieve there at Capel Manor, is bringing that cooperative of bringing all those little parties together to actually get, whether it's young children or adults, to come in and learn about animal husbandry. I think it's fantastic, and being in the city environment as well. Take my hat off to you, Paul, and your college. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you very
much. We do have an amazing team, from the lecturers, support staff, the animal keepers, the practical instructors, our LSAs. We do, because of the environment, we do have a number of students which do have special educational needs, that do have mental health, and everybody comes together to create that safe learning environment for them to develop and hopefully get out there in the real world and make a life for themselves. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. I wanted to ask one last question, which is, the name of this show is Dreaming the New Dream. So in your world, Paul, and you had the capability of getting a magic wand and dream a new dream, bring it into existence, what would it be?
Dream a new dream. I think maybe slowing down a bit more, going back about 50, 60 years and slowing down our environmental progression and getting more sense of protecting our environment and slowing down the technological development to a stage that we can put good management systems in place in order to look after those. That basically be a bit slower in what we're doing and being able to manage what we're doing, I think is what's needed.
Reconnecting with a more natural rhythm.
Yes. Well, if we go back 50, 60 years, we'll have less buildings up. We have less of a human population. We have less environmental impact. I mean, even if we go back 100 years, that still would be in place. There'd be more trees, there'd be more woodlands, there'd be more plants, there'd be more hedgerows, there'd be more environments for our native species, and there'd be less. We would have had less of a negative impact if we'd given ourselves time to learn what actual impact we do have. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we are now talking about learning what went wrong. We're talking about how can we undo species that have been taken off the planet because of what we've done, through hunting or environmental pollution, and we've caused species to be extinct, to be no longer here. I think if we can go back a bit and kind of slow down, that would do us a big favor. And also
spend time to integrate. Spend time to integrate, spend time to question, and not be so hurried.
Yes. Think about, do we do it, or do we need to do it? Can we do it? Should we do it? We need to ask those questions.
Very good.
Wow. Anything left from you, Jeffrey? Do you want to ask one last one?
No,
okay, mate. I think we're there. I have to say, it's been an extraordinary conversation. I had no idea where it was going to go, but what a delight, a complete delight. Thank you very, very much.
Nor do I. And this is my first radio show, and radio shows, you kind of think people are listening to this, but I can tell you now, my palms are sweaty through nerves.
That's because you're in Greece.
No, not through the heat. But yeah, nerves. But thank you both for making it a painless.
I'm going to remember the ambassadors, the giraffe ambassadors driving down Brixton High Street. It's going to be an image that's going to stay with me for a long while.
A few people will hear this, and next thing you know, in the next couple of days, there'll probably be a couple of memes of a giraffe in a Mercedes chucking down
convertible
with his head out the sunroof.
and listen to Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with a big joint.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.